Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Teena Jha, you're watching Perspective. The monsoon session of Parliament begins on Monday, the 21st of July, with a total of 21 sittings and a break between the 12th to the 18th of August. The session will conclude on the 21st of August. The government has listed 8 bills for introduction, consideration and passing. These include the Manipur Goods and Services Tax Amendment Bill 2025, the Taxation Laws Amendment Bill 2025, the Jan Vishwas Amendment of Provisions Bill 2025, the Indian Institutes of Management Amendment Bill 2025, also the Geo-Heritage Sites and Geo-Relics Preservation and Maintenance Bill 2025, the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Bill 2025, the National Sports Governance Bill 2025, the National Anti-Doping Amendment Bill 2025. Alongside, 7 pending bills have been listed for consideration and passing, which include the Income Tax Bill 2025, the Readjustment of Representation of Scheduled Tribes in Assembly Constituencies of the State of Goa Bill 2024, the Merchant Shipping Bill 2024, the Indian Ports Bill 2025, the Merchant Shipping Bill 2024, the Coastal Shipping Bill 2024, the Carriage of Goods by Sea Bill 2024, the Bills of Lading Bill 2024. So as parties have prepared their own strategies ahead of the session, several other matters of public and national importance are also expected to be taken up during the month-long monsoon session of Parliament. We are joined today by 2 distinguished guests to talk about the legislative agenda of the government and also the critical issues which are expected to dominate the upcoming session. I'm pleased to welcome on the program today Dr. K. Laxman, Member of Parliament. He represents the BJP in the Rajya Sabha. Dr. Laxman, welcome to Sansad TV. So glad to have you with us on this broadcast. Also joining us is Professor Himanshu Prasad Roy, Center for Political Studies, School of Social Sciences, JNU. Professor, glad to have you with us on this telecast as well. Welcome to the program. Dr. Laxman, allow me to begin the program today with you. Since we are seeing the government has a heavy legislative agenda, 8 bills that are listed for introduction, consideration and passing, 7 pending bills listed for consideration and passing. But as a member of the ruling party, give us a sense of where do the priorities of the BJP lie in terms of these legislative agendas, sir?
All the bills which proposed by government are equally important, right from, as I said, income tax bill, even to Manipur goods and service taxes, and even the Jan Vishwas Amendment Bill of 2025. These all are equally important. Government wants to have a safe passage of these bills, and we would like to have a debate, discussion, and finally, in a democratic setup, we would like to have the opinion of all ruling and opposition parties to have a comprehensive bill get passed in this monsoon session. As you rightly pointed out, this monsoon session is also an equally important politically also, because this is the aftermath session of this Operation Sindoor, where the Modi government, after this Pahalgam terror act, this Operation Sindoor's progress and overall security issues, especially in Jammu and Kashmir and the Northeast, which naturally now triggered up. This being not an era of war, Modi government was very precise, targeted to see that cross-border terrorism is put to an end. And the military which they have achieved, most innovative and technology missiles where they have targeted. Not even a single civilian nor a military was targeted particularly. Apart from this, after this Operation Sindoor, and there's also, I feel, the extension of president rule of Manipur also need to have a, because the Manipur governor rules ends on August 30th. And there also, I feel, they would like to be a likely discussion for a potential impeachment of a motion against former Delhi High Court Justice Yashwant Verma, who has been facing relating to corruption allegations. So these are all equally important issues where the nation is concerned, whether it's bills passage of bills or even the decisions, particularly the government has to take place. So I hope the opposition also play a constructive opposition role. They should take part in the discussions. They should debate rather than just making halla gulla or going for walkouts. That doesn't mean at all. They can raise any questions. They can go for urgent matters of importance. There are many forums to have debates. Whatever the issue they want to raise, they have many forums, and there are many even methodology to raise the issues. The government is prepared to answer any issue if opposition feels important. We are prepared for all sorts of debates in this part session.
Certainly. We also hope that there is a quality debate and deliberation on matters of urgent importance, on matters of public importance. Let me bring in Professor Roy into the discussion as well. Professor, so given the list of the bills, the new bills as well as the pending bills, we see an interesting mix that the government has listed, from tax reforms to sports governance. So from an academic perspective, sir, how do you assess the legislative focus of the government this monsoon session?
I hope that the opposition does the constructive dialogue with the government on the floor of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. That will be better rather than jamming the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha forums. I feel that from the political science perspective that we as a faculty here in JNU focus on representation of the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, etc. in the Legislative Assembly of Goa. That is one pending bill which needs to be passed, because the representation and readjustment of these communities, marginalized communities, are important aspects that which government has taken up earnestly and which is pending. It should have been passed by now. I hope in this session this is passed by the Lok Sabha and then subsequently by the Rajya Sabha. Then for me, the second important is the sports bill, which takes care of the welfare, including the anti-doping, which is to align the national standard of testing with the international standard and to check something malpractices here. So technological upgradations, the methodology of doping testing here, anti-doping testing, that should be passed. These two bills here, which is new additions, apart from the 7 pending one regarding the sports, that I find it should be taken up without any obstructions by the opposition parties. Then income tax bill, which is in 1961. See, couple of pending bills and couple of new bills. Those are amendment bills which the government proposes to change, say for 1856 laws, relating bill. 1856 laws are still operational, outdated. So government is doing in that way good service, because coastal shipping bill, as you mentioned, merchant shipping bill, ports bill, then other sea bills, which is related to the trade and commerce. These needs to be made not only business friendly but India friendly as well, so that the standard of life of the people related with this trade and commerce should be facilitated, and the legal obstructions which were being posed by these outdated old bills, that are removed. In fact, one of Teena, if you look at the Modi government, that many of the outdated bills have been debunked in the last 11 years. So many of these bills are part of that ongoing process of the government mindsets to remove those obstacles that come in the ease of living and the ease of business, which should be for pro-citizens and pro-country. So I find these bills, in fact, as far as I have gone through some of these bills and the rules and regulations on the parliament sites which are available, I do not find any reason for the opposition to obstruct these bills. Of course, debates, discussions should take place. Any query, any confusion, any clarification must be required and sought by the government, and the government must provide that. Because one of my institutes, like Institute of Management Studies, the new IIM Guwahati has to be part of the Management Act. So these are some of the bills which I find geo-heritage sites, etc. Indian Institute of Management, as I told you, then Jan Vishwas, as you said, then Manipur Goods and Services Tax to align with this outdated old Manipur Goods and Services Tax with the now national GST. It's a question of aligning the two laws because these are outdated old laws. So that has to be aligned. So these are some of the, I think, pro-nation, pro-citizens, pro-business bills are there, outdated rules that needs to be discussed and passed.
Absolutely. A lot of these laws that, a lot of these bills that we are seeing, they're reformative in nature. They're replacing obsolete laws, something that we've seen the government do over the last few sessions. Since you began talking about specific bills, let me take that question to Dr. Laxman and understand particularly the bill on culture, sir, the Geo-Heritage Sites bill that is set to be introduced. The objective largely is to provide for the declaration, preservation, maintenance of geo-heritage sites and geo-relics of national importance for purposes of research, education, awareness generation and tourism. And I'm particularly curious to ask you, how do you see these objectives aligning with the government's broader agenda of cultural preservation? We've seen this government focus on this area over the last decade or so. Now we are seeing a new bill which is set to be introduced for consideration and passing with objectives that I've just listed. So how for the benefit of our viewers, if you could explain, how do you see it aligning with the broader agenda of this party and this government, sir?
Madam, you have seen from the day one Modi government, they are more caring about the national culture and culturalism of this country. They are trying to preserve and also showcase to the present generation how our Indian tradition and cultures are. Though the entire country, a society of varied traditions, but now the preservation of this culture has become now priority for the government, and government also like to promote tourism, cultural, and apart from that, even that we have seen this particular government, how this even temple tourism also been promoted by this government. For the last 1 decade, we have seen many places how this the preservation of the culture, traditions have been now explored, and we have seen lot of innovative programs, and with the improved technology and methods, now we have seen the many, even the particularly that temple tourism also. We have seen even this Ayodhya has become a temple tourism city, and Mahakal, Ujjain, and even this Amarnath. Apart from that, now the cultural heritage, which has been the tradition of this country, I hope this should be given not only in economical aspect, but also the improvement of this tourism in this particular fields, and government is doing its best, I think, and even opposition also should come forward with the constructive ideas and innovative, and which are left out the past culture and cultural and
certainly,
which has got national importance.
We've seen how over the years multiple efforts have also been made, Professor Roy, by this government to bring back stolen artifacts from different parts of the world. And I asked you this question, in fact, Dr. Laxman as well, because to me, the Geo-Heritage Site and Geo-Relics Bill sounds quite unique, and the objectives are quite different in nature, something that align with the broader agenda of preserving our culture, of making our current generation aware about the rich history that India has had. From an academic perspective, once again, if I may ask you, how important do you think is this kind of legislation, not just for preserving India's geological and cultural legacy, but at the same time in imparting education to the current and the future generations about the rich cultural legacy that India, or Bharat, if I can say that, has had, but about which not much has been known. History has buried a lot of important information that perhaps this generation should be knowing about.
Yes, you brought in a good theme to discuss about, at least for me. For the last 11 years, if you look at, the government has been increasing the spending and the budget on the different digging archaeological side. These are part of this government mindsets to not only preserve and impart education to the younger generation through the new NCERT textbooks which are coming, which are focusing on our cultural past, our history, etc. And in holistic way, very objectively and in a holistic way. So unless this cultural preservation takes place, new archaeological sites are discovered and they are tabulated and then imparted about different sites of Harappa in Gujarat, then now Rakhigadhi, then Sinoli in western UP, in Haryana border. These are the new excavations that imparts about our history. If these are taught, preserved, developed, new discovery made, not only tourism and employment generation and boom in the economy through tourism, but also for the future generations that will give a tremendous boost about decolonization process. See, for the even something very tragic happened, that even after independence, 75 years of independence and more, the minds are colonized. And from the school textbooks that we have been reading, something always very negative, derogatory about India has been told. The fact remains that India was the booming trade economy, always open-mindedness, open to new ideas, always having a social mobility. And now the group of economists who have found out with the last 10 years of hard work that India was the top booming economy of the world with 33% of the GST. And even the last in 1765, we had approximately 23.5% of the global GDP. Such a booming trade, how could India be an unlettered, illiterate civilization? The British colonial rule had created an imagery about India. Unfortunately, the sad part was, or tragic part was, that even after 75 years of independence, we have been perpetuating the same kind of feeling, whereas we had the universal education. So through cultural, educational, classrooms teaching and general narrative in the popular discourse in the public sphere, a positive message goes about, a holistic and objective message goes to the public that, look, this was what India was. And that will be a decolonized mindset. And that will put us into the path of the superpower, Vishnu. So that's what I have to add here.
Since you spoke about education, let me ask a related question to Dr. Laxman. Another interesting bill, Dr. Laxman, is the IIM Amendment Bill, which seeks to make changes in the governance of premier institutions. We've seen since 2014, more than a dozen IITs and IIMs have been established across different parts of the country. But through this bill, how do you see it contributing further to India's evolving higher education landscape?
Madam, you have been seeing for the last decade how this government is focusing more on education. particularly higher education, whether in the field of engineering or medicine or management courses. It has been almost the seats have been doubled, the universities have been doubled, even the uh, courses are also of latest courses coming up with innovative needs. But as rightly pointed out by Professor Roy, we have seen how our children, our young generation have been taught the distorted history of our Indians. Because there were many unsung heroes who have fought for the independence and also struggled to protect our culture and our nationalism. So they naturally is Indian Institute of Management. Now we have been seen throughout the country. They are coming up in all parts, even the northeast states. And because we have a managerial skills, we have a technology, and we have a brains. So keeping in mind that our brain drain should not be there, we want even the foreign universities to come and establish in our country so that our skills can be promoted and explored by the younger generations.
Dr. Laxman, there are also two bills related to the sports arena, the National Sports Governance Bill 2025 and the National Anti-Doping Amendment Bill 2025. How significant are these two legislations from the point of view of shaping India's sporting future?
Madam, you've seen the government has come up with a new policy framing for sports because to promote sports, because the younger generation. And this particular government wants to make India a fit India. So the youth now of this country, they are the main human resource and the backbone for overall development of this economy or this country. So sports being given a due importance, we have seen how our young, even women, girls, even that especially challenged people, they have proved their mettle in this recent Olympic Games. And what sort of first time our country has got many number of either gold or silver medals. And particularly this government wants to emphasize on sports so that not only apart from the education, if you focus equally on sports, they have a bright future. And we have seen our ancient culture, that is yoga, which has been introduced to the world now. Like that, there are many other sports, even rural games, they have to be brought into limelight. We have seen Khelo India and how the Kabaddi also, not only IPL, Western games, but even Indian games, which have got due importance, they are also being given significance. And the reservations also being given to the sportsmen who are excelled in their respective fields in the central government, whether it's railways or in telephones or in what are the department, even in army also. So this bill also equally important. And as you said, the doping also definitely it will be helpful to the upcoming young sportsmen of this country.
Professor, I didn't ask you about the sports bill, but there are also maritime related bills that I would like your views upon, like the merchant shipping bill and the carriage of goods by sea bill that will also be taken up during the monsoon session. Do you see this as part of, say, a larger effort by the government to modernize India's regulatory framework, which is in line with the global standards?
Yes, absolutely right. This is precisely the intent of the government. And therefore, if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from leading bills, look at the Act, 1856 Act. It is still, after 75 years of independent India, this 1856 Act is still being pursued by the government, and the regulatory acts is operational. Then Coastal Shipping Bill, Merchant Shipping Bill, other sea bills, Ports Bill. So the basic objective is regulating, and then so that the business, the trade, etc., and the commerce and the sea routes, etc., gets modernized. So this is precisely the intent. So it should not be a problem. I don't understand why these bills are still pending for the last 6-8 months. Another Teena, important point that I said earlier, and which should have been focused and taken up earnestly, in the pending bills, readjustment of representation of scheduled castes in the or scheduled tribes in the Legislative Assembly of Goa.
Right.
Why this bill is pending? This should have been passed earnestly, so there is a representation of these economically poor, marginalized community in the Legislative Assembly that facilitates the democratization process through representations of the in Goa, in many of the other states. Such kinds of problems are there. So these are the pending bills that should have been taken up. So that's my take here on these bills.
So we've spoken at length about the bills, some of the new bills, but as well as the pending bills which will be taken up in the upcoming session. But one last question, which is about the Jan Vishwas Amendment Bill, Dr. Laxman. How important is it for Parliament to ensure that a legislation like this one, the Jan Vishwas Amendment Bill, which helps in not just simplifying compliance, but also in building citizen trust in the legal system? How do you see that being taken up, and why is it important?
No, because we wanted to have a transparent and accountable governance with maximum governance with minimum government. Because we have seen how the government functions. You'll be surprised to know in this 11 years of span, 45 lakh crore have been directly went into the accounts of poor people bank accounts. It is almost a surprise and astonish of everybody without any single rupee getting even privilege. Earlier we used to see and we used to hear that when a rupee sent from Delhi to the poorest of the poor, used to get only 15 paisa, 85 paisa have been swindled by middlemen. So without any middleman role, directly it should go into the pockets of the poor marginalized sections. That is how now this government wants particularly to be more transparent and accountable, and definitely this Jan Vishwas bill, I am confident that even opposition also should come forward to see that sort of governance and transparency there.
Certainly. That's the power of the structural reforms that we've seen over the past decade, and also the digital transformation. But Dr. Laxman, we've spoken about the bills. Let me also take up one last question on some of the issues of pertinent, some of the issues that are in national discourse, some of the issues that you think the public will relate to. What is it that the government is keen on discussing alongside the bills that are listed?
We are prepared.
Yes. Professor, I'll come to you. Let me just take in a word from Dr. Laxman.
A request from a public who is not a member of the parliament to the government and to the opposition benches. Root out corruption, and it must stop or begin from the judiciary itself. So if the recommendation of the Supreme Court is there against one of the judges, pending, or High Court judges, pending in the, and now a member of the Allahabad judiciary, let's complete the procedure, and whatever is fair enough, act on it so that a message goes that this government cannot tolerate corruption even in the matter of judiciary. If that message travels, Honorable Member of Parliament, Laxman Sahab, that will be better. A request from an ordinary citizen, a faculty in the JNU, a request to suggest your government, and through the channel of Sansad TV and Teena.
In fact, Professor Roy, what you're saying is something that has been spoken time and again by the chairman of Rajya Sabha, also the vice president, Mr. Jagdeep Dhankar. He said about corruption in judiciary, and he cited this case several times. But now, whether the BJP will bring about an impeachment motion during the monsoon session, or how will it be taken up, is something that we'll have to wait and watch. But Dr. Laxman, I'll give you some time to finish the answer on some of the other issues of public importance that the ruling party can bring about for a discussion for the national discourse, sir.
Now we'll wait and see. As I said, the government is bent upon. As rightly pointed out by Professor Roy, the government doesn't want to compromise on corruption,
yes,
on even terrorism. And irrespective of caste, creed, region, religion, language, nation is first our government and our party. So, keeping in this mind, all the constructive suggestions are given by the people of this country. We would like to come forward. As rightly pointed out, even the corruption in judiciary, nobody is prepared to now compromise. And government is also bent upon to see that any sphere, the current should be rooted out. It should be a transparent. And politically, I said that how our India, our army, have recently, in the name of Operation Sindhu, how they have got the name and fame. It was a very precise and targeted and without hurting any civilian or any army of Pakistan. So the credit goes to the military, and even Modi government doesn't want a war. This is not an era of war. We want peace, prosperity, development, and welfare of the people. So we are committed, and we also welcome any sort of discussion. It's a parliament, so opposition has got right to question us, and the government is prepared to answer what sort of issue it is. But it should have a debate, discuss, and then only just shouting it and mere walking out will not be a solution for it. Entire country is looking towards a parliament. This is the parliamentary temple.
Absolutely. You're right, Dr. Laxman. So as the monsoon session unfolds, people across the country will indeed be watching closely, not just the significant bills that are being passed by both houses, but also the kind of debate and deliberation in both houses on matters pertaining to them. So with that, we'll have to wrap up the program. Let's see how issues of public importance or national importance are taken up in both houses by by members of respective parties. But thank you very much to both our guests for joining us on the program, sharing your insights with us and our viewers. Viewers, do watch live proceedings of both houses on STV1 and STV2 on your set-top boxes. Also live streaming on the Sansad TV YouTube channels as the monsoon session begins at 11 a.m. on Monday. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Perspective. Thank you very much for your time.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.